Sir, it is a MPSE-03 second class, Western political thought. In the last class, we had completed from Unit 1 to Unit 6. Today, we shall start from Unit 7. Unit 7 relates to the philosophy, political philosophy of the famous British philosopher John Locke. Unit 7, the famous British political philosopher John Locke. He was born on 1632 AD and passed away on 1704 AD. You know, state is regarded as the most favorite and foremost political institution in our course. The state, regarding state, we study different aspects, particularly the origin of the state, how the state came into existence, or how the state originated. It is the question for which several philosophers have put forth their viewpoint from several angles. Regarding origin of the state, to solve the question how it came into existence, there are number of theories. राष्ट्र किभଳି उत्पत्ति लाभ कला, राष्ट्रर उत्पत्ति संपर्क रे बहुत गुड़िए मतवाद सृष्टि हेची. ए मतवाद
sir. Dear students, is it visible to use the slides? No, slides are not visible.
Not visible, right, sir.
Not visible, so you can click on present now button again.
Sir. Could it be visible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible now.
Sir.
Students, sir, is it visible? Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Sir. MPSE-03 Western Political Thought, Unit 7. John Locke, the foremost political philosopher in the history of political philosophy. He was born in 1632 AD and passed away on 1704 AD. You know, state is regarded as the foremost political institution. Regarding state, we find different aspects to study. Out of these, one aspect is how the state originated or how the state came into existence. राष्ट्र उत्पत्ति किभଳି ହେଲା से संपर्क रे बहु राजनैतिक दार्शनिक बहु मतवाद उपस्थापन करिसेंती. These theories are theory of divine origin or divine origin theory. Another is the theory of force. Another is the theory of social contract or the social contract theory. The patriarchal theory, the matriarchal theory, evolutionary or historical theory. There are number of theories how the state came into existence. Out of these theories, one theory, you know, the social contract theory. सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा हेउची राष्ट्र उत्पत्तिर मूलदुआ. एभଳି मतवाद पोषण करुथुवा, एभଳି दृष्टिभंगी पोषण करुथुवा एवं दिस पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफी को सृष्टि करिथिबा जो राजनीतिक दार्शनिक मानकर नाम आमे स्मरण करती से मानक मध्यरु आमे यूनिट 6 रे पढ़िचे थॉमस हॉब्स ही इज द फोररनर ऑफ द सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट थ्योरी another philosopher is John Locke who advocates also the social contract theory for the origin of the state राष्ट्र किभली उत्पत्ति लाभ कला तीन जन मुख्य राजनीतिक दार्शनिक एभली चुक्तिनामा सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा को समर्थन करती एवं ताको सृष्टि करचंती जॉन लॉक अन्यतम आउ जने फिलोसोफर होचंती फ्रेंच फिलोसोफर जे जे रूसो बा जैन जैक्यू रूसो टुडे वी शैल स्टडी regarding the philosophy of political vision of John Locke regarding state of nature and all these things. Regarding Locke's philosophy, C.E. Bhagan says that Locke is not merely anti-despotic, but also markedly individualistic. His argument, if sound, is as fatal to the idea of Rousseau as that Hobbes. Rousseau ଆଉ ହବ୍ସଙ୍କ ମତ ଭଳି ଯଦିଓ ଲକ୍ ମତ ପୋଷଣ କରିଥିଲେ ତଥାପି ଲକ୍ ନିଜର स्वतंत्र दृष्टिभंगी स्वतंत्र चिंताधारा उपस्थापन କରିଛନ୍ତି from this point of view Locke is regarded as a forerunner political thinker regarding social contract theory. His works means he has composed number of books. Out of these we can enumerate two treatises of government. Another is an essay concerning human understanding. As many as he has written 6 books. He has 6 works to his credit. Foremost of these works are two treatises of government. Another is an essay concerning human understanding. John Locke is the first ever liberal political philosopher in the world. Liberal political philosopher, उदारवादी समग्र विश्व रे सबुठारु उदारवादी फिलोसोफर भावरे एवं सर्वप्रथम उदारवादी फिलोसोफर राजनीतिक दार्शनिक भावरे जॉन लॉक को ही मान्यता प्रदान करा जाए. He is the founder. He is also the founder of responsible and limited government. You know, Locke was the contemporary of the famous glorious revolution that was occurred during the year 1689 in England. The constitutional development throughout the world can be traced in number of British legislations. Out of these legislations, the Glorious Revolution is one among them. Glorious Revolution is a remarkable foundation for the establishment of a responsible and limited government, means constitutional government. Entire political philosophy of Locke chiefly rests on humanitarian character. He never had any hatred to human, unlike Hobbes. Still, Locke followed Hobbes and Filmer. John Locke तांकर राजनैतिक दर्शन रे मुख्यतः हॉब्स को एवं फिल्मर को ही अनुकरण करचंती बोली कहा जा. किंतु जॉन लॉक केबे हेले मनुष्य को न्यून दृष्टि रे देखि नांती अकॉर्डिंग टू हिम men are basically decent, orderly, social minded and quite capable of ruling themselves. Very much important. Locke opines that all men are equal. There should never be any discrimination among human beings. All men are basically decent. समस्त मनुष्य सदा सर्वदा चिंताशील सामाजिक मानसिक संपन्न एवं आईन प्रति सम्मान थिबा रुचि एवं निजको निजे परिचालना करिवार दृष्टिभंगी रखंती बोली जॉन लॉक निज राजनीतिक दर्शन रे स्पष्ट भाव रे करछन्ती एटा होछि तांकर मूलदुआ जहा ऊपर एंटायर हिज पॉलिटिकल फिलोसफी रेस्ट्स Natural law constitutes an integral part of Locke's moral and political theory. It is central to his conception of the state of nature as well as of civil society. John Locke has explained how the civil society came into existence. The meaning, nature of civil society, and the civil society is governed by the natural law. State of nature and natural law are component of civil society. Another important concept in Locke's political philosophy is that natural right to life, liberty, property means natural right. Man has natural right, that is right to life, right to liberty, right to property. These natural rights are derived from natural law and are limited by it. प्रत्येक मनुष्यर प्राकृतिक अधिकार रही तीन प्रकार प्राकृतिक अधिकार रही कथा जॉन लॉक कहते गोटे हूँ जीवन धारणर अधिकार एवं स्वतंत्रता अधिकार एवं संपत्तिगत अधिकार तीनोटी मुख्य अधिकार थिबा कथा नेचुरल राइट थिबा कथा जॉन लॉक प्रकाश कर these natural rights are derived from natural law and are limited. They are not unlimited. These three natural rights of human being are not unlimited. They are also limited by natural law. They are protected by natural law. These rights are also limited by the natural law. Right to property is intimately connected with the right to life. Right to property is intimately connected with right to life and liberty as its necessary consequence. Sometimes Locke sums up all natural rights in the right to property, but property is not his exclusive concern. Life and liberty are more important. Like right to property. Right to property is important. So also right to life, right to liberty. Without right to life and liberty, property has no meaning. Social contract and civil society, the problems of natural law, Locke's view on social contract and Locke's view on civil society. I had already told you that John Locke is one of the most important advocate of the theory of social contract regarding the origin of the state. राष्ट्र किभଳି उत्पत्ति लाभ कला सेटा होची सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा होची तार उत्तर. राष्ट्र सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा रु ही सृष्टि हेची. The problems of natural law like lack of an established, settled and known law. 2. Lack of an impartial judge and lack of an executive organ forced human beings, forced the civil society to form a civil society by common consent. Natural law, natural law जोटा जॉन लॉक कहउचंती लॉकंकर प्रकृति राज्य और मानव प्रकृति अति उत्तम थिला लॉकंक मतरे प्राकृतिक आईन रे थिबा विभिन्न त्रुटि आ विच्युति मनुष्य को सामाजिक चुक्तिबद्ध सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जा कहा जाउची सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट एमंग ह्यूमन बीइंग contract among human beings living in this society कहीं की सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट पाई ह्यूमन बीइंग चिंता पोषण कले तर क्वेश्चन रो उत्तर होची जे प्राकृतिक आईन रे जो त्रुटि विच्युति थिला से त्रुटि विच्युति को मुकाबला करबा पई से त्रुटि विच्युति को एड़ैबा पई जनसाधारण एक सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा रे उपनीत हेले मुख्यतः तीनोटी त्रुटि नेचुरल लॉ रे तीनोटी त्रुटि थिबा कथा जॉन लॉक कहउचंती वन इज लैक ऑफ एन एस्टैब्लिश्ड सेटल्ड एंड नोन लॉ कौन सी प्रतिष्ठित प्रचलित एवं आईन उत्स तथा आईन प्रणयनकारी अभाव अच्छी बोली जनसाधारण अनुभव कले सेकेंडली देयर वाज लैक ऑफ एन इम्पार्शियल जज अर्थात आईन व्याख्या करबा बा न्याय पालन करबा पई उपयुक्त विचारालय बा विचारपतिंकर अभाव थिबा जोगु जनसाधारण सामाजिक चुक्ति पाई मनोनिवेश कले हार्डली लैक ऑफ एन एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑर्गन कार्यपालिका अंग रो अनुपस्थिति दैट मीन्स ए गवर्नमेंट हैज थ्री ऑर्गन्स वन इज लॉ अनदर इज जुडिशियरी थर्ड वन इज executive as Locke devised. The lack of three necessities forced human beings to form a civil society. How? By virtue of common consent that is called the basis of social contract. Common consent सेतरे समस्त अंशग्रहण कले समस्त मत निगला दैट इज कॉल्ड कॉमन कंसेंट द कंसेंट ऑफ ऑल लिविंग इन द सोसाइटी दीज पीपल यूनानिमसली Locke has focused on the principle of unanimity. The unanimous consent, that means the common consent of the human beings living in the society formed a civil society. After the formation of civil society, they set up a political society that is called government. First step of formation of the state was the formation of civil society. प्रथमे सृष्टि हला civil society. तापरे सृष्टि हला राष्ट्र बा जहां जॉन लॉक निज भाषा कहती the legislative organ that is called government. According to him, legislative is the government to declare and execute the natural law. This Locke calls the supreme authority established by the commonwealth or civil society. This Locke calls the supreme authority. Who is the supreme authority? The government or the legislative. That is called the supreme authority and that supreme authority established by the Commonwealth or civil society. Synonymous terms civil society को जॉन लॉक कॉमनवेल्थ बोली कहउछन. Civil society and commonwealth are synonym terms as per John Locke. Locke sees two separate acts, one by which the civil society is established and other which creates the government. Government means government is limited sovereignty. Sovereignty means supreme power. That is not absolute, that is limited. Sovereign, the supreme power of the government is limited by the constitution. That is the limited government. Locke is the first philosopher in the world, political philosopher in the world, who advocated, who presented a scheme of limited government. He is the liberal, first ever liberal political philosopher of the world. Then, while the first is the product of contract, second is only a fiduciary power to act for the certain ends, and there remains still in the people a supreme power to remove or alter the legislative when they find the legislative act contrary to the trust. That means the social, out of social contract, the civil society came into existence. On the basis of social contract, the civil society formed, and then the legislative organ, that is called the government, came into existence. And government is not supreme. The power of the government is not supreme. The supreme power still rests with the people. जनसाधारण निकट रे सुप्रीम क्षमता रहिला, सर्वोच्च क्षमता रहिला, एवं people have the power to remove or alter the government. People, Locke provides ultimate power to the people, the ruling power, the power to govern ultimately rests with the people. People have the power to remove the government or alter the government when they find the government is not working for the benefit of the people. The idea of consent is not properly explained by Locke. What is the consent? The phrase common consent, its proper definition, proper meaning, proper sense, proper applicability has not been explained by John Locke. It is a vague concept projected by John Locke. You know, so that Locke को एथिपाई समालोचना करा जाए. लॉक जो कॉमन कंसेंट कथा कहले जहा बल रे गोटे सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा हला, से सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा रु सिविल सोसाइटी क्रिएट हला. सिविल सोसाइटी क्रिएट हवा परे राष्ट्र बा गवर्नमेंट बा लेजिस्लेटिव सृष्टि हला, जहा तक भाषा कहती. सिविल सोसाइटी को से कॉमनवेल्थ कहती. That is not properly presented by John Locke. Another criticism is John Locke, the social contract scheme of John Locke is self-contradictory. The scheme of social contract explained by John Locke is self-contradictory because The social contract presented by John Locke is for the protection of propertied class अर्थात समाजर धनिक श्रेणी लोकंक स्वार्थ को सुरक्षा पाई जॉन लॉकंकर ये चिंताधारा उद्दिष्ट बोली तांको समालोचना करा जाए. He has misunderstood. John Locke has misunderstood the human nature. John Locke has not properly understood the human nature which produces the civil society according to him. Thirdly, society or government as presented by John Locke are not only the organs of the government as John Locke explained. अर्थात सरकार तीनोटी अंग अच्छी व्यवस्थापिका कार्यपालिका न्यायपालिका जहां जॉन लॉक संपूर्ण भाव में एलाबोरेटली डेफिनाइटली विथ डेफिनेशन एक्सप्लेन करी नाहंती. एंड जॉन लॉक has neglected the minority also in his vision, in his political philosophy or ideological interpretation. He has advocated in favor of capitalist economy and the dictatorship of the bourgeoisie as is found in his philosophy. Sacrifice another criticism against him. He has the scheme to sacrifice of legal sovereign. John Locke जो पॉपुलर सॉवरेनिटी कथा से चिंता करिसंती जे पॉपुलर सॉवरेनिटी एक्चुअली जे लिमिटेड सॉवरेनिटी कथा से कहउचंती पॉपुलर सॉवरेनिटी टाकू से जेतिकी दूर एक्सप्लेन करिया कथा सेतिकी से करी नांती. एवं जॉन लॉकंकर द्विविध डबल स्टैंडर्ड डबल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कथा कहउचंती. गोटे कहउचंती जे नेचुरल रे जे नेचुरल कॉमन कंसेंट रे सिविल सोसाइटी फॉर्मेशन होबा देन स्टेट फॉर्मेशन होबा कथा बा गवर्नमेंट फॉर्मेशन होबा कथा जो डबल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कथा कहउचंती दैट इज वेग बोली कहा जाए. एंड द सोवरेनिटी एक्सप्लेन्ड बाय जॉन लॉक is not explicit as it is found in his philosophy. The idea of consent is not properly explained by John Locke. John Locke seldom uses the word revolution. It is an essential part of his philosophy, but he has not explained it properly. The theory of revolution. Religious toleration was a topic of great importance in Locke's time. He has failed to understand it. Means John Locke has never bothered for the minority living in the society. Moreover, John Locke's ideology, John Locke's vision, John Locke's philosophy is of profound impact in the political science, and it has much more importance and it has much more background as the political science students found it, and it the Locke's legacy, you know, is in the central figure in modern European political thought by Western political thought रे जॉन लॉकंकर चिंताधारा को आदौ गौण भाव में देखा जाए नहीं, बिकॉज ही इज द फर्स्ट फॉरमोस्ट एंड लीडिंग लिबरल पॉलिटिकल फिलोसोफर. लिबरलिज्म रो से प्रवक्ता, जदियो सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट रो से होचंती अन्यतम प्रवक्ता, किंतु लिबरलिज्म बा उदारवादर जो व्याख्या से करिसेंती ताकू आदौ गौण बोली देखा जाई पारिबो नाही। तेणु राजनीति विज्ञानर दर्शन रे तांकर स्थान बहु उच्चरे अछि एवं आगरे अछि, जहाकू भल भाव अनुशीलन करा जिबा दरकार। दिस इज ऑल अबाउट जॉन लॉक। वी शैल switch over to unit 8, J. Rousseau. John Jacques Rousseau. You know J. Rousseau by John Jacques Rousseau is another political philosopher who is among other two, means Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, who founded the social contract theory, who have built social contract theory answer to the origin of the state. How the state originated? It is due to social contract, as Thomas Hobbes, as John Locke, J. Rousseau, by Jean Jacques Rousseau of France, who founded the social contract from his own angle. J. Rousseau, born on 1712 and passed away on 1768. Very short span of his life. Still, Rousseau has his legacy in the political history of the world. In political thought, Rousseau represents passage from a traditional theory. He is in fact the great forerunner of the German and English idealism, Ernest Rage. राजनैतिक चिंतन रे रूसो पारंपरिक तत्व को मध्यवर्ती जो पारंपरिक तत्व गुड़ा मध्यवर्ती जुगरे सृष्टि हितला ताकू एडाई से एक आधुनिक जुगर अयम आरंभ करथिले, जो आधुनिक जुग वास्तव रे जर्मान आउ ब्रिटिश आदर्शवादर मुख्य स्थान लाभ करथिला। ताकू ही से आगु को नहीं एक स्वतंत्र चिंताधारा सहित उपस्थापन करथिले। सेति पई रूसो is regarded as the forerunner of a new age. His famous version, as we say time and again in different places, different occasions, famous version, man born free or man is born free and he is everywhere in chains, means मनुष्य जन्म हेला बेले संपूर्ण स्वाधीन होइकरी जन्म होता है। भूमि रे पड़िबा मात्रे अर्थात भूमिष्ठ हवा मात्रे ही इज इन चेन्स, विभिन्न प्रकार श्रृंखल रे बा बंधन रे से बांधी हे जाइता। हिज पर्पस इज हाउ टू मेक the chains legitimate in place of the illegitimate chains of the contemporary society. With such a purpose, Rousseau's theoretical problem is to find out a form of association capable of defending and protecting with the total common foray the person and the property of each associate, and in which each, while uniting himself with all, may still obey himself alone and remain as free as before. Through a social contract, he is another exponent of social contract theory, but he was a critic of civil society. John Locke civil society concept को से दृढ़ समालोचना करछन्ती बा से जणे होचन्ती समालोचक. You know, J.J. Rousseau was another leading person of French Revolution. मानव इतिहास रे मानव सभ्यता रे जेते विप्लव घटिची सेथि मध्यरु the French Revolution is another. French Revolution is most important in the annals of human civilization and human history to form a civilized society and a civilized nation and a civilized government. He was another person who led the French Revolution to overthrow the Bourbon ancestor King Emperor 14th Louis and established there the people's rule, but democratic rule. John Locke, he supported the question of the origin of the state as social contract, but he never recommends the formation of civil society, common consent, and the commonwealth or the constitutional, the government or the legislature, as John Locke says, is the most important for social contract. John Locke, though Rousseau critiqued civil society, he did not suggest man to choose the savage existence. You know, Rousseau devoted himself in social contract. The key to the construction of the ideal social political order was to handle the problem of social political obligation, namely, why should man obey the state? Why should man obey the state? Through a proper reconciliation of authority with freedom, as is ought to be a task which, according to Rousseau, was unsatisfactorily and inadequately done by his predecessor philosophers. Social contract opens dramatically. You know, famous version, man is born free. Means human beings are always free. His purpose is how to make the change legitimate in place of illegitimate claims. His total alienation of each associate together with all his rights to the whole community. Each man gives himself to all. He gives himself to nobody in particular. This is as a result of the social contract, the private person ceases to exist, for the contract produces a moral and collective body, which receives from the same act as unity. Human beings living in the state, united, and are known with a common identity, common life, and common will. That is called general will. That is called general will. Rousseau says that general will tends always to the preservation and welfare of the whole and of every part, and is the source of the laws. Law is made by the general will. General will. General will is not the sum total will of all individuals. General will cannot be explained as the sum total of the will of all individuals. Constitutes for all the members of the state in relation to one another and to it. The rule of what is just and what is unjust. It aims always at the public good and is different from the will of all. Will of all is different aspect and general will is different aspect. For while the former aims at the common interest, general will aims at the Rousseau has differentiated general will with will of all. General will aims at the common interest. Will of all aims at only the private interest and is a sum of particular wills. So, general will is the foundation. John Locke's state rests on the civil society. John Locke जेभली तांको राष्ट्र को सिविल सोसाइटी रो मूलदुआ ऊपर छिड़ा करिसेंती रूसो सही भली तांकर राष्ट्र सृष्टि रो मूलदुआ को जनरल विल भाबरे देखुचंती. General will is the basis upon which this state of Rousseau stands upon. Means state came into existence by virtue of general will in that state. That is, general will is termed as the social contract. You know, Rousseau's writings means Rousseau's works. Rousseau's rachanavali hochi discourses on the moral effects of arts and sciences. Rousseau has as many as 7 books to his credit. 7ଟି ବହି ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି. ସେଥିମଧ୍ୟରୁ important ହୋଉଛି Emile the Dialogues, the Confessions, Law, Novel, Heroes, Discourses on the Origin and Foundations of Inequality Among Men. ଏଭଳି 7ଟି ବହି ରୁଷୋ ଲେଖିଛନ୍ତି. ରୁଷୋଙ୍କର ଆଦର୍ଶ ଭାବରେ ସେ ଜନ୍ ଲକ୍ को ନେଇଛନ୍ତି, थॉमस हॉब्स को ନେଇଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ ପ୍ଲାଟୋ को भी ନେଇଛନ୍ତି. ରୁଷୋ ନିଜର ଆଦର୍ଶ ଭାବରେ ପ୍ଲାଟୋ you know the father of political philosophy, ତାଙ୍କୁ ସେ ତାଙ୍କର ଆଦର୍ଶ ଭାବରେ ନେଇଛନ୍ତି. ଜନ୍ ଲକ୍ को भी ତାଙ୍କ ଆଦର୍ଶ ଭାବରେ ନେଇଛନ୍ତି ଏବଂ थॉमस हॉब्स को भी ତାଙ୍କ ଆଦର୍ଶ ଭାବରେ ନେଇଛନ୍ତି. କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଦର୍ଶ ଭାବରେ ନେଲେ ମଧ୍ୟ ସମ୍ପୂର୍ଣ୍ଣ ଭାବରେ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଅନୁକରଣ କରି ନାହାନ୍ତି. ନିଜସ୍ୱ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରା, ନିଜସ୍ୱ ମୌଳିକ ଚିନ୍ତାଧାରାକୁ ନିଜ ରାଜନୈତିକ ଦର୍ଶନରେ ସେ ଉପସ୍ଥାପନ କରି ସମଗ୍ର ଜ୍ଞାନ ଜଗତରେ ନିଜକୁ ଅମର କରି ରଖିଛନ୍ତି. Theory of general will, by making the general will sovereign, sovereignty lies with the general will. ରୁଷୋଙ୍କର general will ଟା ହେଉଛି ତାଙ୍କର sovereign. Individuals as participants in the general will. Rousseau reconciled authority with the freedom as none before him had done. In order to understand how Rousseau achieved this end, it is need to appreciate the nature of the general will. General will ta hochi Rousseauଙ୍କର entire philosophy ro core point. The discourse on political economy. Rousseauଙ୍କର ଲେଖା the discourse on political economy. The concept of general will. Rousseau says that general will tends always to preservation and welfare of the whole. Welfare of the whole. That is the meaning. A general will as the sovereign. His sovereignty. Sovereignty means supreme power. Supreme power rests with the general will as Rousseau presented. Rousseau says that general will is the sovereign of the state. That is Rousseau. His criticism, Rousseau's general will is confused. His explanation of general will is not sufficient and specific in nature. It is also impracticable. All men will express their will in one direction cannot be imagined. He has never presented a clear picture, of the sovereignty which lies with the general will. He has recommended to use force against those who will be defiant to general will. Rousseau's general will and will of all are not clearly distinctive. Distinction of general will and individual will are not clearly explained by Rousseau. General will impossible in a nation state. As we see today, general will is not possible in a nation state and is not also practicable and is also not expectable. Impossibility of direct representation as opined by Rousseau is not also practicable. And C.M. Joad has rightly says that it seems to follow that a strict adherence to the doctrine of general will would in practice will frequent revolt against most governments. यह साधारणतः जहाँ सीएम जोड कहती समालोचन रे जहाँ जना जाए जे दृढ़ भाव में साधारण इच्छा तत्व को जदि अध्ययन करा जाए तेबे यह वास्तव में अनेक सरकार विरुद्ध रे बारंबार विप्लव सृष्टि करिवो एवं वेपर जे कि रूसोंकर समस्त राजनैतिक दर्शन को गभीर भाव में अध्ययन करी निजर विस्तृत मत प्रकाश करचंदी तांका मतरे फॉर इफ द जनरल विल इज सुप्रीम द सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट इज अननेसेसरी सेज वेपर फॉर इफ द जनरल विल इज सुप्रीम जदि साधारण इच्छा सामाजिक जदि साधारण इच्छा सर्वोच्च सेठी सामाजिक चुक्ति अनावश्यक जहाँ रूसो कहते ग्रहण योग्य नुहे वेपर कहते तेणु रूसोज थ्योरी ऑफ सॉवरेनिटी इज नॉट अकॉर्डिंग टू द नीड ऑफ द आवर पाठ्यक्रम दृष्टि सॉवरेनिटी रो जहाँ अर्थ हवा दरकार रूसो से भली अर्थ रे सॉवरेनिटी को व्यवहार करनांती से भली अर्थ मध्य प्रकाश करनांती से भली परिभाषा मध्य प्रकाश करनांती एब्सोल्यूट सॉवरेनिटी लिमिटेड सॉवरेनिटी पॉपुलर सॉवरेनिटी एभली सबु सॉवरेनिटी रो अर्थ को प्रकाश करी जदियो राजनीति विज्ञान को तांकर अवदान व्यापक मात्रा रखिचंती तथापि सॉवरेनिटी रो अर्थ संपूर्ण से करि पारि नाहंती बोली चिपंती किंतु सबुठारु बड़ जिनिस जहा मानव सभ्यता को रुष अवदान करिचंती दैट इज कॉल्ड वॉइस ऑफ पीपुल इज वॉइस ऑफ गॉड भॉक्स पिपुली इज भॉक्स देई समस्त लोकंकर इच्छा भगवान कर इच्छा ए मत से ही प्रकाश करचंती मैन बॉर्न फ्री बट आफ्टर दैट ही इज इन चेन एवरीवेयर ही इज इन चेन ये मत से ही प्रकाश करचंती से जने दिव्य द्रष्टा सी जने दूरद्रष्टा एवं सी जने जेजे रुषो होचन जने विप्लवी जहांकर राजनीतिक दर्शन completely unmatchable in the political science, in the realm of political science. Next, Unit 9, Edmund Burke. Unit 9, Edmund Burke. देखो Edmund Burke, the Burke 1729 ख्रीष्ट मृत्यु होची 1797 ख्रीष्टाब्द 1700 Burke who born on the year 1729 died in 1797. Burke's place in the political history of the world. Burke is indeed the greatest prophet of English conservatism. से होचंती इंग्लैंड रो जने प्रसिद्ध राजनैतिक दार्शनिक रक्षण से ब्रिटिश British people are conservative in nature. रक्षणशील conservative अर्थात preservation attitude of British people in protecting their tradition, in protecting their cultural heritage, in protecting their past ideology is known as conservative. रक्षणशील निजर प्रथा परंपरा चालचणी सबू को सुरक्षित करी रखिबा को कहा जाए रक्षणशील. ब्रिटिश कंजर्वेटिज्म इंग्लिश कंजर्वेटिज्म तार चैंपियन होचंती एडमंड बर्क. एडमंड बर्क होच जने ब्रिटिश पॉलिटिकल फिलोसोफर अनदर लाइक थॉमस हॉब्स British political philosopher, John Locke, British political philosopher, so also Edmund Burke, British political philosopher. Hobbes and Locke are social contractualist political philosophers. Edmund Burke is conservatism political. You know the differentiation. Who is identified by his own work, by his own attitude. निजर दर्शन रे सेमाने निजे परिचित. जॉन लॉक, थॉमस हॉब्स निज दर्शन अनुजाई सेमाने सामाजिक चुक्तिनामार प्रवक्ता राजनीतिक दार्शनिक. एडमंड बर्क अनुरूप भाव रे होचंती इंग्लिश कंजर्वेटिज्म रो प्रवक्ता. एडमंड बर्क तांकर वर्क्स से मध्य 8टी पुस्तकर रचयिता. 8टी पुस्तक लेखि. बर्क वाज ए vocal opponent of arbitrary monarchical power and patronage. However, he was also conscious and importance of the institution of monarchy as a natural attraction for obedience and reverence. and that is also strengthened the principle of continuity. Means Edmund Burke, you know, Edmund Burke was born in a royal family. He royal in the tradition of royal culture. He advocated in favor of monarchical power. Monarchical अर्थ means होची राजतंत्र. राजतंत्र सपक्षवादी से थिले जदियो केतक परिवर्तन से चिंता करथिले तथापि राजतंत्र को केबे हेले से विरोध करि नथिले. तांकर पुस्तक गुड़िकर नाम दि भिंडिकेशन ऑफ नेचुरल सोसाइटी केते गुडे मु कहि दोछि 8टा पुस्तक दि भिंडिकेशन ऑफ नेचुरल सोसाइटी, thought on causes of the present discontents, speech on conciliation with colonies, later on Monsieur Despont, reflections on the revolution in France. ये भली 8टी पुस्तक से रचना करी निजर राजनैतिक दर्शनर गभीर परिचय प्रदान करछन्ति. एडमंड बर्क क्वेश्चन the very basic argument that a stable political structure could be established only on the basis of regime. विचार भलो मंद विचार करने को कहा जाए regime, the power to differentiate, the capacity to differentiate good from bad, justice from injustice is known as regime. Is known as regime. Due to this quality of regime, human being is different from all other animals on earth. पृथ्वीर समस्त प्राणी मानक ठारू मनुष्य केवल रीजनिंग पावर ऑफ रीजनिंग पाई स्वतंत्र. सेतिपाई एडमंड बर्क मत प्रकाश करती पॉलिटिकल स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ ए नेशन could be established only on the basis of reason. He pointed to the limits of reason and its role in understanding society. राष्ट्र को बुझीबा, समाज को भी बुझीबा, reasoning point of view. Reason होची, the concept of reason is the core point of his political philosophy. Burke's political philosophy, the core point होची theory of reason. फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन को से समालोचना करथिले. फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन रो जो एवं से मध्य समालोचना करथिले नेचुरल राइट्स एंड सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट. नेचुरल राइट जहाँ जॉन लॉक मत प्रकाश करचंती. तीन प्रकार नेचुरल राइट, राइट टू लाइफ, राइट टू प्रॉपर्टी, राइट टू लिबर्टी, ये सब को से समालोचना करचंती. एवं सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट थॉमस हॉब्स, जॉन लॉक, जे रूसो जो सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा फॉर द क्रिएशन ऑफ द स्टेट, ओरिजिन ऑफ द स्टेट ऊपर जो मत प्रकाश पोषण करचंती ताकू भी से समालोचना करचंती. These are improper. These are improper. But he supports the natural rights as proposed by Jeremy Bentham, the utilitarians. Utilitarian Jeremy, political philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Limits of reason, a reasoning. Citizenship and democracy. Citizenship और democracy विषय जॉन एडमंड बर्क निजर स्वतंत्र उपस्थापन रखते. बर्क believed that elections gave an opportunity for the enfranchised citizens to choose a wise elite to govern them. Regarding democracy, he supports the better procedure of election. Better procedure of election. Through election, people could find a scope, an opportunity to choose a government. To choose a government means he says that choose wise elite. ସମାଜର ଚିନ୍ତାଶୀଳ ବର୍ଗ, enlightened persons who are wise to govern themselves. Burke accepted inequalities as natural and unavoidable in any society, and that some would enjoy an enhanced status. ସମାଜ, ଆମ ସମାଜ ଯାହା ଏଡମଣ୍ଡ ବର୍କ କୁହନ୍ତି ସଦା ସର୍ବଦା ସୋପାନ ଯୁକ୍ତ. Society is hierarchical. There is no equality in the society. There can never be equality in society. There must be inequality. Some persons will be at the upper level, some persons will be in the middle level, and some persons of the society will remain in the lowest level of social ladder. सामाजिक सीढ़ी रे सर्वोच्च स्तर रे लोके रहिबे, किछि लोके मध्यम स्तर रहिबे, किछि लोक निम्न स्तर रहिबे. ये that is natural. Edmund Burke speaks that social inequality is natural and is unavoidable. याकू आदौ अवॉइड करा जाई पारिबो नाही. से दृष्टिरू स्टेटस रे मध्य डिफरेंस आसलो. In the well-ordered society, this ruling elite was a genuine one, a natural aristocracy for the mass of people who are incapable of governing themselves. जो लोके निज द्वारा परिचालित हो पारिबे नाही सेमाने अन्य द्वारा शासित होबाकू बाध्य हेबे सेमाने. Burke's views on religion exhibited both liberal and conservative perceptions. He defended traditional practices of the established church unless there was an intolerable abuse. Church धार्मिक नीति नियम सपक्षर से थिले. He exhibited both liberal and conservative perceptions. He defended traditional practices. He is a conservative philosopher, political philosopher. British रक्षणशील से होचन जने प्रतीकात्मक राजनैतिक दार्शनिक. सबुबले से ब्रिटिश रक्षणशील को ग्रहण करुथिले एवं समर्थन करथिले तांकर राजनीतिक दर्शन रे. तेणु समाज रे श्रृंखला, स्वाधीनता ये सब ऊपर तांकर लिबर्टी ऊपर से गभीर भाव रे निजर मत प्रकाश करचंती. लिबर्टी सब मनुष्य रहिबा उचित. ब्रिटिश संविधान संपर्क रे निजर मत रखी ताकू से सबुले समर्थन करचंती. एवं बर्क राष्ट्र ऊपर निजर मत रखिचंती. तांकर मत अनुसार राष्ट्र एक सकारात्मक अनुष्ठान जहाँकि ऑर्गेनिक राष्ट्र जैविक तत्व ऑर्गेनिक थ्योरी की से एक्सप्लेन कर. ऑर्गेनिक मीन्स स्टेट इज ए biological entity. State is a biological, like human body. The organs of the human body can not be separated from the body. मनुष्य शरीर कौन अंग को सेपरेट करा जाई पारिबो नाही कले शरीर अक्षम हो पड़ो. So also the state is organic one, a biological entity. Human beings cannot be separated from the state. ये होची बर्गकर मत. और डेमोक्रेसी कथा तो आम जानिले. बर्ग संपत्तिगत अधिकार को से समर्थन करथिले. Burke criticism. Burke जो मत थिला वर्क एंड पेन वाज रिप्रेजेंटेटिव सिंबल ऑफ कंजर्वेटिज्म एंड रैडिकल रेस्पॉन्सेस टू द फ्रेंच रिवॉल्यूशन. जो वर्क एभली जने फिलोसोफर जहांकर मत को समग्र विश्व रे ग्रहण कराई सत, बट dividing states into small farms and endorsed plans for the working class which could lead to the betterment, and so also male and left out the female which understood. Burke conclusion hochi Burke used the historical perspective to understand politics. His conservatism rested on a philosophical background, skepticism about the possibility of discerning the biological process by which societies developed. It was not concerned, so that Burke's philosophy is another important factor of world political history. Next, Unit 10, Immanuel Kant. Immanuel Kant, Unit 10. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher. Immanuel Kant was a German philosopher. He born on 1724 and died on 1804. 1804. Immanuel Kant. His own expression, if everything you say has to be true, it is yet not your duty to tell the whole truth in public. Kant निज भाषा से निजे प्रकाश करचंती. If everything you say has to be true, it is yet not your duty to tell the whole truth in public. Don't publicize the entire truth. If you suppose that what you are saying is perfectly true, you should not expose that truth entirely in public. It is the opinion of Immanuel Kant. Kant took the supreme principle of that very reason to be the moral law, to be tested through what he termed as reason's categorical imperative of the freedom, autonomy, and equality of every human being as a moral person. Representative of the Enlightenment, Kant in the long history of moral and political ideas by nothing that while his critical philosophy was a culmination of the intellectual movement of the European Enlightenment, it at the same time marked a clear departure from the separation of politics from morality. That is, while espousing the Enlightenment's enthronement of human reason over divine will or law of nature, Kant took the supreme principle of that very reason to be the moral law, to be tested through what he termed as reason's categorical imperative of the freedom, autonomy, and equality of every human being as a moral person. Every human being is a moral person. The gist of his political philosophy. Every human being is a moral person. He must have freedom, autonomy, equality. He should have freedom. He should have autonomy, self-rule. He should have equality. Kant acknowledged that he was an enlightenment thinker. He viewed his nature, his mature works to be contributions to the ongoing process of enlightenment. କାଣ୍ଟଙ୍କର ଗୁଡ଼ାଏ ପୁସ୍ତିକା ପ୍ରକାଶିତ ହୋଇଛି। ମୋଟାମୋଟି ଭାବରେ 5ଟି ସେଗୁଡ଼ିକ ତାଙ୍କର ପୁସ୍ତିକା ଗୁଡ଼ିକର ନାମ ହେଉଛି ଦି କ୍ରିଟିକ୍ ଅଫ୍ ପିଓର ରିଜିନ୍, ଦି କ୍ରିଟିକ୍ ଅଫ୍ ପିଓର ରିଜିନ୍, ଦି କ୍ରିଟିକ୍ ଅଫ୍ ପ୍ରାକ୍ଟିକାଲ ରିଜିନ୍, perpetual peace, the principles of political rights, first metaphysical principles of the theory of law. 5ଟି ପୁସ୍ତିକା କାଣ୍ଟଙ୍କର ପ୍ରକାଶିତ ହୋଇଛି। କାଣ୍ଟସ୍ କୋପରନିକାନ revolution in metaphysics. Kant proposed his Copernican-like revolution in philosophy as he presents. He tells that hitherto it has been assumed that Kant's own opinion, hitherto it has been assumed that our knowledge must conform to objects. But all attempts to extend our knowledge of objects by establishing something in regard to them a priori by means of concepts have, on this assumption, ended in failure. We must therefore make a trial whether we may not have more success in the tasks of metaphysics if we suppose that objects must conform to knowledge. कांट सामाजिक चुक्तिर दृढ़ विरोधी थिले। सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फिलोसोफर्स थॉमस हॉब्स, जॉन लॉक, जे रूसो को द्वारा प्रस्तुत होइतिबा सामाजिक चुक्तिनामा रूपक चिंताधारार से दृढ़ विरोधी थिले। जर्मन आइडियालिज्म उपरे तांकर राजनीतिक दार्शनिक राजनीतिक तत्व गढ़ी उठितला। जर्मन आइडियालिज्म जेमती एडमंड बर्क ब्रिटिश कंजर्वेटिज्म उपरे तांकर राजनीतिक दर्शन को गढ़ी। अनुरूप भाव में इमानुएल कांट जर्मन आइडियालिज्म उपरे निजर राजनीतिक दर्शन को सृष्टि करते। राष्ट्र आत्म सचेतनता कारणर परिणाम जहाँ धार्मिक अटे एवं यह सदस्य मानक स्वार्थ को प्रतिनिधित्व करिथाय। कांट को मतरे चुक्तिर अर्थ हेउची विवेकानुमोदित मतामत जहाद्वारा व्यक्ति ताहार स्वाधीनता को जलांजलि दे पुनर्बार संगे संगे कॉमनवेल्थ बा सार्वजनीन समाजर सदस्य भाव में फेरी जाए। पुणी मत दब एवं फेरी जीव। ये कांटकर मत ट्रांसेंडल आइडियलिस्ट व्यू ऑफ ह्यूमन रीजन। कांट्स आइडियलिस्टिक attitude is that it is ideal oriented and critical reconstructive. These features of his thought are reflected in the titles of many of his books. Ideas towards a universal history from cosmopolitan point of view. Man have in himself a faculty by means of which he differentiates himself from all other things, indeed even from himself. If man now finds in himself faculty by means of which he differentiates himself from all other things, indeed even from himself, in so far as he is affected by objects, and that faculty is regime. This as pure self-activity is elevated even above the understanding. With respect to ideas, reason shows itself to be such a pure spontaneity that it far transcends anything which sensibility can provide it. Kant and system of punishment. Kant को मतरे राष्ट्रर दंड दबार क्षमता अच्छी राष्ट्र उपरे तांकर मत रही एवं राष्ट्र एक संगठित अनुष्ठान निजर सार्वभौम क्षमता को कार्यकारी करने राष्ट्र पाखरे दंड विधान क्षमता रहिबा उचित बोली इमानुएल कांट मत प्रकाश करछन्ति. कांट एंड मोरल फ्रीडम. कांट advocates the free moral will, autonomy of moral will, particular will, national will. Kant has explained a number of wills. Kant राष्ट्र आउ धर्म संपर्क रे तांकर मत होची. कांट को मतरे राष्ट्र धार्मिक अनुष्ठान गुडी को निज नियंत्रण रे रखिबा उचित. ए सब सत्य से धार्मिक सहनशीलता उपरे गुरुत्व प्रदान करछन्ति. रिलीजियस टॉलरेंस जाकू वेस्टर्न कांसेप्ट ऑफ सेकुलरिज्म बोली कहंती. वेस्टर्न कांसेप्ट ऑफ सेकुलरिज्म राष्ट्र समस्त धर्म को निज नियंत्रण भितर रखिबा उचित एवं राष्ट्र सहनशीलता व्यक्ति मध्य सहनशीलता प्रकाश करिवा उचित. Universal law of right or justice as the supreme principle of moral practical reason, the categorical imperative is, according to Kant, valid not only for our inner world of thoughts, convictions, motivations, etc., but also for our outer or external world. तेणु राइट उपरे अधिकार उपरे कांट कर मत संपूर्ण भाव रे क्लियर अछि. प्रॉपर्टी सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट उपरे तांकर समालोचना अछि. राष्ट्र को एक सर्वोच्च अनुष्ठान भाव रे देखंती से राष्ट्र रो सॉवरेनिटी को संपूर्ण भाव रे समर्थन करंती. तेणु या द्वारा another is perpetual peace. A distinctive feature of Kant's political philosophy is its cosmopolitanism, globalism, or internationalism. He does not separate domestic politics from international politics. Perpetual peace by Kant, domestic politics और international politics याकू कोनोसी पार्थक्य से करंती नहीं. Paying tribute to the cosmopolitan character of Kant's political philosophy, Wolfgang writes that while Hobbes, Locke, and Rousseau were satisfied with overcoming the interpersonal natural condition and allowed the authority of a political philosophy to end at the border of the state, Kant took political philosophy beyond the borders of states and saw its foremost object in the highest political good of a just order of world peace. He had much importance for world peace. वर्ल्ड पीस उपरे तांकर सर्वाधिक गुरुत्व थिला. सेतिपाई से राष्ट्रीय राजनीति एवं आंतर्जातिक राजनीति भितर कोनोसी पार्थक्य बा फरक से देखी नथिले. Another philosopher, Jeremy Bentham. He born on 1748 and died on 1832. Jeremy Bentham. Jeremy Bentham, you know, is known as an utilitarian. Utilitarianism is essentially a British school of political theory. Utilitarianism, utility, उपयोगितावाद, उपयोगितावाद गोटिए पदार्थ बा गोटिए आदर्शर मूल्य सेतिकी बेले गुरुत्व लाभ करिथा से जिनिसर जदि वास्तव रे उपयोगिता थाए तेणु उपयोगितावाद रूपक राजनीतिक दर्शनर अन्यतम प्रवक्ता एक्सपोनेंट होचंती ब्रिटिश फिलोसोफर जेरेमी बेंथाम। तांको संपर्क रे डनिंग मत रखिचंती डनिंग एंड an important political analyst Dunning, a number of strong and eager minds received from Bentham the impulse that shaped their contribution, to various branches of social sciences. अनेक दक्ष ओ आग्रही मस्तिष्क एपरी केतेक चिंताधारा बेंथाम को ठारू आनिचंती जहा सामाजिक विज्ञान रो विभिन्न क्षेत्र रे समानकर अवदान को सूचाए। लाइफ एंड टाइम बेंथाम 13टी पुस्तिका लिखिचंती। बेंथाम करो वर्क्स मोट 13टी पुस्तिका से लिखिचंती। ए फ्रैगमेंट ऑन गवर्नमेंट, ए डिफेंस ऑफ यूजुरी, डिस्कोर्स ऑन सिविल एंड पेनल लेजिस्लेशन, ए ट्रीटाइज ऑन जुडिशियल एविडेंस, ए थ्योरी ऑफ पनिशमेंट्स एंड रिवॉर्ड्स, an introduction to the principles of morals and legislation, papers upon codification and public instruction, essay on political tactics, inspection house, heart your colonies, catechism of parliamentary reform, the book of fallacies, constitutional code. जेरेमी बेंथाम एभली 13टी गुरुत्वपूर्ण पुस्तिकार रचयिता जेउथुरु तांकर राजनीतिक दार्शनिक तार गुरुत्व अनुभव करि हुए। जेरेमी बेंथाम इज रिगार्डेड एज द फादर ऑफ utilitarianism. जेरेमी बेंथाम is the founder of the philosophy, the political philosophy of utilitarianism character. उपयोगितावाद दर्शनर स्रष्टा भाव रे जेरेमी बेंथाम को ही ग्रहण करा जाए। से तांकर चिंता और चेतना रे सामाजिक परिवर्तन चाहिथिबारु कोनोसी परिस्थिति रे मध्य पूर्व परंपरा को धरि रखिया को प्रचेष्टा करि नाहंती। पूर्व परंपरा को से आदौ धरि रखिया को प्रचेष्टा करि नाहंती। एडमंड बर्क को भली, एडमंड बर्क को जणे कंजर्वेटिज्म philosopher, political philosopher, but Jeremy Bentham wants to see a new horizon by changing the old one. संपूर्ण वैप्लविक चिंताधारा तांकर थिला। Bentham began the first chapter of an introduction to the principles of morals and legislation. Nature has placed mankind under the governance of two sovereign masters. प्रकृति मनुष्य को दुईटी सर्वशक्तिमान प्रभु द्वारा परिचालित हवा को निश्चित भाव में व्यवस्था कर प्रकृति. One is pleasure, another is pain. Pleasure, pain, आनंद आउ विषाद. मनुष्य आनंद द्वारा परिचालित हम नचेत विषाद द्वारा परिचालित हम. Pleasure and pain are two sovereign masters under which mankind must have to be governed with. मनुष्य से ही दुईटी मास्टर द्वारा परिचालित होबाकू पड़िबो. It is for them alone to point out what we ought to do as well as to determine what we shall do. आमे कौन करें? On the one hand, the standard of right and wrong. On the other hand, the chain of causes and effects. भलो कले भलो फल. Good deed bring good fruit, but the result of evil is evil. Right and wrong. Right and wrong. Cause and effect. भलर भल कार्य भल फल, मंद कार्य मंद. Are fastened to that throne. They govern us in all we do, in all we say, in all we think. आमे जहा करू, जहा कहू, जहा चिंता करू, ये सबु गुड़िक प्लीजर आउ पेन द्वारा परिचालित हो. A man may pretend to abjure their empire, but in reality he will remain subject to it all the while. The principle of utility recognizes the subjection and assumes it for the foundation of that system, the object of which is to rear the fabric of felicity by the hands of reason and of law. For Bentham, utilitarianism was both a descriptive and a normative theory. A descriptive and normative theory. Bentham's political philosophy, political opinion of Bentham is that government cannot be exercised without coercion. राष्ट्र सरकार बल प्रयोग करिवो ता बिना दंड बा शक्ति प्रदर्शन राष्ट्र कार्य कर परिवो. Nor coercion without producing unhappiness. Now happiness is to be avoided. So the only justification for government is that without it more unhappiness would be produced in society. The government is to attach sanctions to certain unhappiness producing actions so that individual citizens will not be motivated to perform. तेणु राष्ट्र उपरे तांकर मत मुख्यतः से प्लीजर एंड पेन बा हैप्पीनेस अनहैप्पीनेस ऊपर ही पर्यवेसित. Bentham contrasts political society with natural society. Defining political society, Bentham says when a number of persons are supposed to be in the habit of paying obedience to a person or an assemblage of persons of a known and certain description, such persons altogether are said to be in a state of political society. Political society से definition देइचंती तांको निज दृष्टिभंगी अनुजाई. जेते बेले when a number of persons are supposed to be in the habit of paying obedience to a person or a group of persons, जणे व्यक्ति प्रति बा गोटिए मानव गोष्ठी प्रति केते जण व्यक्ति प्रति गोटे मानव गोष्ठी जो आनुगत्य प्रकाश करे से गोटे पॉलिटिकल सोसाइटी बा राष्ट्र सृष्टि होता है जा जेरेमी बेंथाम कहउछन एवं से पॉलिटिकल सोसाइटी बा राष्ट्र कार्य प्लीजर आउ पेन हैप्पीनेस आउ अनहैप्पीनेस राष्ट्र केतेबेले भलो जना पड़ियो जेतेबेले तार कार्य सुखप्रद बा आरामप्रद हब जनसाधारण प्रति सेतेबेले से राष्ट्र यूटिलिटीरियन यूटिलिटी उपयोगितावाद राष्ट्र उपयोगितावाद राष्ट्र सेतिकी बेले भलो बोली जना पड़ियो a good institution when it provides happiness or pleasure to human beings. Next, बेंथाम लिबर्टी उपरे लिबर्टी को से एब्सोल्यूट बोली कहती लिबर्टी निश्चित भाव में स्वतंत्रता ह्यूमन लिबर्टी सबु बेले मात्राधिक हवा उचित बोली जेरेमी बेंथाम मत प्रकाश करती एवं जेरेमी बेंथाम पाश्चात्य चिंतन प्रति अवदान बहुत मात्रा रे अच्छी कारण एक नुआ चिंताधारा से सृष्टि कले राजनीतिक दार्शनिक भाव में तांकर स्वतंत्र परिचय सृष्टि कले कारण उपयोगितावाद बा यूटिलिटेरियनिज्म भली एक मतवाद को से सृष्टि करी मानव समाज विशेष करी राजनीति विज्ञान और इतिहास रे निजर स्थान को से स्वतंत्र भाव रखी ठीक अच्छी दिस इज ऑल अबाउट जेरेमी बेंथाम वी हैव कंप्लीटेड 5 यूनिट्स फ्रॉम जॉन लॉक टू जेरेमी बेंथाम जॉन लॉक थॉमस जॉन लॉक जे रूसो एडमंड बर्क इमानुएल कांट and Jeremy Bentham. We have completed 5 philosophers today. We started our class in a late, and students, if you found any difficulty, you have liberty to ask. We can clear up your difficulty. We can explain your difficulty. These students, you should ask your difficulty. Regarding John Locke, J.J. Rousseau, Edmund Burke, Immanuel Kant, Jeremy Bentham. Students, if you have any doubt, you may ask. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Yes. Any problem?
Sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, doubt clearing session, sir. The students should ask their doubts.
Okay, students, you can ask your doubts, or you can write the doubts in the chat box, and sir will reply you. Either you can unmute your mic and ask directly, or you may write in the chat box. It's up to you. Any doubt?
John Locke, regarding John Locke, J.J. Rousseau, Edmund Burke, Immanuel Kant, Jeremy Bentham. We have completed 5 units and 5 political philosophers. we have studied today. You can ask any difficulty of these 5 political philosophers. You have any doubt?
Sir, they are already writing the doubts in the chat box. You can check the chat box.
Chat box, sir. Sir, where is the chat box?
ଆପଣ ଶୁଣନ୍ତୁ ଉପରୁ ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଠିକ କରିଛନ୍ତି ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଉପରକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ଗୋଟେ 99 ନା କଣ ଲେଖା ହେଇନି 79 ଲେଖା ହେଇଛି ଉପର ଗୋଟେ
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍
79 କ୍ଲିକ୍ କରନ୍ତୁ ହଁ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ବାସ୍ କ୍ଲିକ୍ କରନ୍ତୁ ଏଟାକୁ କ୍ଲିକ୍ କରିକି ତଳକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ସେଠି ପୁରା ଚାଟ୍ ବକ୍ସ ସବୁ ଅଛି ହଁ ତା ତଳକୁ
नो
ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ
डाउट सर
ୟେସ୍ ପୁରା ତଳକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ପୁରା ତଳକୁ ତାର ପୁରା ତଳକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ତଳକୁ ଆଉ ତଳକୁ ପୁରା ତଳକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ମାଉସ ଟାକୁ ମୋଡ଼ିଦେଲେ ସେ ତଳକୁ ପଳେଇବ ନା ମଝିଟାକୁ ପୁରା ତଳକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ଆହୁରି ପୁରା ଲାଷ୍ଟକୁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣ ଠିକ ଅଛି ସେ ମାଉସର ମଝି ପଏଣ୍ଟଟାକୁ ତଳକୁ ବୁଲାଉନାହାନ୍ତି ମାଉସର ମଝି ପଏଣ୍ଟକୁ ତଳକୁ ବୁଲାନ୍ତୁ ଖାଲି ବୁଲେଇବନି
स्क्रॉल କରିବା କଥା କହୁଛନ୍ତି ସାର୍
ହଁ ସ୍କ୍ରଲ୍ କରନ୍ତୁ ତଳକୁ ପୁରା ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ
ସାର୍ ଲାପଟପ୍ ସେ
ଲାପଟପ୍ ତ
ଆଜ୍ଞା ସାର୍
ଲାପଟପରେ ଠିକ ହବ ତ ଆପଣ ଯୋଉ ଡାଉନ ମାର୍କଟାକୁ ନା ଆର ମାର୍କ ଡାଉନଟାକୁ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ତଳକୁ ଟିପି ନିଅନ୍ତୁ ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଯାଏଁ ପଳେଇବ
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଯାଏଁ ଯାଇଛି ସାର୍
ପୁରା ଲାଷ୍ଟ ଯାଏଁ ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ ଗଲେ ତ ହଁ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ହଁ
ଆଜ୍ଞା
ଏଠି ଦେଖନ୍ତୁ ପିଲା ପଚାରୁଛନ୍ତି ଜନ୍ ଲକେ ଟୁ ଏକ୍ସପ୍ଲେନ୍ ସାର୍
ବେନ୍ଥାମ ଲେଖିଥିବା ବୁକ୍
ତା
ଗୁଡ଼ିକ
ଉପରେ
ନାମ
ଜନ୍ ଲକେ ଟୁ ଏକ୍ସପ୍ଲେନ୍
ଜନ୍ ଲକ୍ to explain sir regarding John Locke entirely John Locke you know an exponent of the theory of social contract to the origin of state ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ରର ଉତ୍ପତ୍ତି ଲାଭ ସମ୍ପର୍କରେ ଯେଉଁ ସାମାଜିକ ଚୁକ୍ତିନାମା ରୂପକ ମତବାଦ ଅଛି ତାର ସେ ହେଉଛନ୍ତି ଜଣେ ମୁଖ୍ୟ ପ୍ରବକ୍ତା ବା ତାଙ୍କୁ ଜଣେ ସୋସିଆଲ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାକ୍ଟ ଥିଓରିଷ୍ଟ ବୋଲି କୁହାଯାଏ ରାଜନୈତିକ ଦାର୍ଶନିକ ସାମାଜିକ ଚୁକ୍ତିନାମାରୁ ରାଷ୍ଟ୍ର ଉତ୍ପତ୍ତି ଲାଭ କଲା ସାମାଜିକ ଚୁକ୍ତିନାମା କିଭଳି ହେଲା ପ୍ରଥମେ the entire society was governed by natural law ତାଙ୍କର ମତ ହେଉଛି entire society was governed by natural law ରେ ତିନୋଟି ଅସୁବିଧା ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହବାରୁ ତିନୋଟି ତ୍ରୁଟି ପରିଲକ୍ଷିତ ହବାରୁ ମୁଖ୍ୟତଃ ଆଇନ ପ୍ରଣୟନକାରୀ ସଂସ୍ଥା ନାହିଁ ବିଚାରପତି ନାହାନ୍ତି ବା କାର୍ଯ୍ୟପାଳିକା ନାହାନ୍ତି ତେଣୁ ଏଭଳି ତିନୋଟି ତ୍ରୁଟି ପରିଲକ୍ଷିତ ହେବାରୁ ଜନସାଧାରଣ ଗୋଟେ ସିଭିଲ ସୋସାଇଟି ସୃଷ୍ଟି କରିବା ପାଇଁ ସ୍ଥିର କଲେ ସିଭିଲ ସୋସାଇଟି by virtue of common consent that common consent is known as according to John Locke is commonwealth that is the basis of social contract common consent of all individuals living in the society formed a civil society and out of civil society the state was formed that is his idea of social contract सामाजिक चुक्तिनामारू राष्ट्र सृष्टि है प्रथमे नेचुरल लॉ थिला नेचुरल लॉ रो त्रुटि जोगु सृष्टि है सिविल सोसाइटी बाय वर्च्यू ऑफ कॉमन कंसेंट आफ्टरवर्ड्स आउट ऑफ सिविल सोसाइटी दी लेजिस्लेचर जाकु से गवर्नमेंट बोली कहंती लेजिस्लेचर को गवर्नमेंट बोली कहउचंदी दैट इज आल्सो सॉवरेन अथॉरिटी ସେଇଟା ହେଉଛି ଷ୍ଟେଟ୍ ତାଙ୍କ ମତରେ ସେଇଟା ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେଲା ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ଇଜ୍ ଏଣ୍ଟାୟାରଲି ଜନ୍ ଲକ୍ସ ଭ୍ୟୁ ଅନ୍ ସୋଶାଲ କଣ୍ଟ୍ରାକ୍ଟ ଜନ୍ ଲକ୍ସ view on social contact. John Locke's view on natural. John Locke sees that individuals must enjoy natural rights. Three type of natural rights: right to liberty, right to property, and the right to liberty, property, and also right to life. Right to life, right to liberty, right to property. Three natural rights. That is his state of nature. And common consent, common resistance. Locke is first ever liberal political philosopher in the world. John Locke is regarded first ever liberal political philosopher of the world. He is also an exponent of limited government, constitutional government, right to resistance, a right to revolt. The people have the right, people have the authority, people have the sovereign power to change the government, to alter the government, to overthrow the government. If the government goes against the betterment of the individuals. जनसाधारण को स्वार्थ विरोधी हेले सरकार को परिवर्तन करिपारिबे ये क्षमता रखे. This is about John Locke. Sir, we can get the PDF of note. Yes, PDF. I have presenting you the slide in PPT. I shall send it to Sir Prabhat Sir. He will share you afterwards. Next, I did not understand what is Immanuel Kant's perpetual peace. Perpetual peace. Immanuel Kant, Unit 11, Immanuel Kant. Perpetual peace rests. Immanuel Kant, you know, is first ever utilitarian political philosopher of the world. He is a British philosopher. He born in England. He is an exponent of pleasure and pain, the two governing, pleasure and pain, the two governing principle of individuals. समस्त जनसाधारण प्रत्येक व्यक्ति दुईटी मुख्य चिंता द्वारा परिचालित होती. गोटी होची प्लीजर बा आनंद, पेन बा विषाद. ए प्लीजर एंड पेन जहाँकि परवर्ती समय राष्ट्र रो उपयोगिता, राष्ट्र रो वास्तविकता संपर्क रे से चिंताधारा करती. ह्यूमन बीइंग्स सीक हैप्पीनेस. Human beings seek happiness of their own and that of others. They ought to seek happiness their own and of others. To seek, however, is one thing. The question is, how can they attain what they seek? What is required in general for human beings to reach the happiness they are searching for? Human happiness for Bentham depended on the services man rendered to each other. Government can ensure these services by creating a system of rights and obligations. Political society exists because government is necessary to compel individuals to render services to each others, to increase their happiness, so that individuals find peace in the state. Kant, Immanuel Kant, you have right. I didn't know what is Immanuel Kant's perpetual peace. Perpetual peace. Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher, uh, who also built his political philosophy on the basis of German ideology. His distinctive feature is perpetual peace. Perpetual peace, highest good of highest number. Highest good of highest number. सर्वोच्च भलटाकू किभली आमे अचीव करिबा. हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल गुड नेमली परपेचुअल पीस. परपेचुअल पीस रो अर्थ होची इमानुएल कांट को अनुଯାयी हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल गुड. परपेचुअल पीस is otherwise known as highest political good, as Immanuel Kant foresees. जहाँ इमानुएल कांट चिंता करती परपेचुअल पीस रो अर्थ होची हाईएस्ट पॉलिटिकल गुड. We have to overcome not only the natural conditions among individuals with nations or states, but also the natural condition of anarchy or was proneness among the states. In fact, Immanuel see these two levels of natural conditions to be interrelated. He maintained that universal principle of right justice has to govern not only domestic politics but also international politics. But also region is the basis of each individual's activities. Region is also the basis of state activities. Moral practical region within us pronounces the following: the irresistible veto. There shall be no war either between individual human beings in the state of nature or between separate states. राष्ट्र राष्ट्र भितर युद्ध हबनी, मनुष्य मनुष्य भितर कलह भी हबनी. इंटरनली लॉ गवर्न. मनुष्य जेतेबेले आत्म नियंत्रण द्वारा परिचालित हबो, मनुष्य जेतेबेले आत्म नियंत्रण द्वारा परिचालित हबो, सेतेबेले परपेचुअल पीस राष्ट्र रे प्रतिष्ठित हबो. दैट इज द कांसेप्ट ऑफ परपेचुअल पीस as says Immanuel Kant. बेंथाम लेखिथिबा बुक गुड़िकर नेम आउ थरे कहि दियंतु. ठीक अछि. जेरेमी बेंथाम. जेरेमी बेंथाम जेरेमी बेंथाम मोटरे 13टी पुस्तक रचना करिसेंती. जेरेमी बेंथाम ए फ्रैगमेंट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. प्रथम पुस्तिका ए फ्रैगमेंट ऑन गवर्नमेंट 1776 1776 मसीह रे पब्लिकेशन है. ए डिफेंस ऑफ यूजुरी. ए डिफेंस ऑफ यूजुरी. USURY. ए डिफेंस ऑफ यूजुरी 1787 रे पब्लिकेशन. डिस्कोर्स ऑन सिविल एंड पेनल लेजिस्लेशन 1802 रे पब्लिकेशन. ए ट्रीटाइज ऑन जुडिशियल एविडेंस 1813 रे पब्लिकेशन. ए थ्योरी ऑफ पनिशमेंट्स एंड रिवार्ड्स 1811 रे पब्लिकेशन. Introduction to the Principles of Morals and Legislation 1799 publication. Papers on Codification and Public Instruction 1817 publication. Essay on Political Tactics 1791 publication. Inspection House 1791 also publication. M. Hart Your Colonies 1783 publication. Catechism of Parliamentary Reform 1809 publication. The Book of Fallacies 1824 publication. Constitutional Code 1841 publication. Srikant Kumar Ponda, thank you. Bentham Lekita
Okay, sir.
Sir. Any
Okay,
other
sir.
doubt?
Thank you.
Sir.
There is no more question, I think.
Sir.
So we can close it now.
Sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, dear learners.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, dear learners. Today's class was started in late. Sorry for that. It was internet problem. We had to try a lot for half an hour. We shall continue it in the next class for repeat, and you may ask for these